lot of people say annoying things about women all the time, slowly chips away at you, chips away at us. Oh, it's only a little thing. Why don't you sort out all the big... sort out the big shit feminists bothering about? You just said a little thing on the radio, another person. It's annoying, chips away at us. Christopher Hitchens is another one. He said an annoying thing about women's brains. Christopher Hitchens, the journalist and author, who is now conveniently dead and so was unavailable to comment. He wrote an essay, like a 4,000-word essay on why women weren't funny. It's been published in Vanity Fair, you can read it. And Christopher Hitchens' theory is that women are not funny because they do not need to be in order to have sex. Women can use their beauty instead to get the sex, whereas men need. So basically, girls do not develop the skill of being funny in childhood in the same way that boys do, because we can just use our looks to get sex instead. But men have to be... This is not me, this is Christopher Hitchens. So men have to be funny to have sex, whereas women can just go... some sex. Can I sex, please? In here. Christopher Hitchens, That is how I get sex every time I have sex. Never fine. I am beating them off with a shitty stick. What he's saying is, right, in a nut, is that, you know, women are not going to die out if they can't tell a good joke, whereas men will, according to Christopher Hitchens, who tried to prove his theory by not putting any jokes into his essay and then dying. Don't laugh. That's... God bless you. Not. They're not the enemy, are they, Sterling Moss and Christopher Hitchens? They just said silly things about women's brains. They're not the enemy. Some people think it's quite harsh. You know, they just... It's not... Well, they just said sexist things, didn't they? It's not like they invented female genital mutilation or anything like that. That was John Inverdale, the BBC sports commentator and former Wimbledon presenter. Christopher Hitchens had obviously never met any Afghan women who, as well as being some of the most oppressed women in the world, also managed to knock out a pretty perfectly timed punchline. Whenever people say there's like women are not fun, I always think about the story, right, every single time. So basically, under the Taliban, Afghan women were under house arrest, right? They couldn't work, they couldn't go to school, couldn't leave the house without a chaperone, couldn't drive. And then in 2001, when international US troops went in, got rid of the Taliban, Afghan women's rights got a little bit better for a few years there, right? And during this time, a Western female journalist travelled to Afghanistan to talk to the women about how their lives had changed. She noticed that they were all trailing behind their husbands, so she was quite surprised by that. So she went up to one of the women, she said, "Hey, why after years and years of fighting and struggling, trying to change the old regimes, why are you all now happy to go back to the old customs and start walking 10 paces behind your husbands again?" I'm quite surprised by that. And this Afghan woman looked the Western female journalist straight in the eye and just said, "Landmines." See, Christopher Hitchens, even the most oppressed women in the world are funny, so...